Hello, and welcome back to Umineko When They Cry. This is episode 6, and I think we're finally getting somewhere in terms of reasonable plot, and not just introductions. Not that I dislike it, it's just a tad slow. I have noticed that my Umineko videos are just a bit more popular than my Steins Gate videos. I'd say it's about 5-to-1 ratio on how many views I get. Maybe more of a 4-to-1. But I usually get 2 to 3 views on the Steins Gate ones, and I think the most I have on Umineko is 27, and that's the first episode. But oh, and 2 likes, which is great. But enough of me talking. Let's get into whatever Goda made for dessert. After seeing how much you all enjoyed the rose garden earlier today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. The rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that very rose garden. I think I read this part, but I could not recall. The sauce is a combination of 2 red, strawberry, and rose hips. Please enjoy this mixture of the strawberry sweetness and the rose hips sourness. Furthermore, the rose petals are merely decorative, so please avoid them while you eat. Yeah, I think I did read this part. Whoa, man. I almost want to applaud before eating. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed description first seems to make it work a whole lot better. Skoda-san elaborated on the details of this dessert, and it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, should you call him subtle or just talented? I wouldn't call him either, I'd call him a dickwad asshole. The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but taking the hint when we all stopped in front of the rose garden earlier today, he displayed an incredible and timely awareness by just adding a few rose petals from that garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you'd get used to it and bored halfway through. But if you reach the sour sauce at that point, you'd get a really vivid taste. Honestly, it doesn't sound like something I'd want to eat, but I also did just have a fudge brownie ice cream cake slice, so you can kind of tell that my palate isn't that refined. But I will tell you that ice cream cake was damn good. And then, once you return to the sweet sauce, all of the sourness in your mouth would be replaced with an enjoyable sweetness. I'm sure everyone felt the same way. Every time Goda-san passed by one of our seats, someone praised the taste and his presentation. I'd punch that smarmy look off his face. How is it, madam? Splendid, as always. It is worthy of entertaining our guests. I am most grateful for your words. You know she's just saying that, right? She could not care less about you. Madam, did you know? I have heard that rosehip has the ability to cure headaches. I thought that you in particular would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared. Are you trying to suck up to her? Is that so? Thank you. See, didn't I tell you not to, Hini-san? Rosehip is great for headaches. So it seems. I do hope it actually helps. Ha! Goda-san, I love ya. Hey, later on, why don't you tell me how they're treating you? Or if you can't, just let me know what sort of sour you'd like. Having your talent confined to this small island is sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. What'd you think about working your craft for my company and delighting all our customers? Hideyoshi-san, are you trying to steal away our Goda? Shut the fuck up, Kraus. Now that won't do at all. We'd better start treating Goda better or he'll get snatched up. You do not know how badly I want to beat Kraus up. Yes, you really should. If you don't, someone's going to grab him and you'll be stuck with 3 meals of Kumasawa-style mackerel cooking a day, won't you? Oh, that's harsh. It seems someone's holding a grudge against me. I take it that's 3 people laughing together. Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's mackerel jokes were a running gag that our parents had long since gotten used to. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerels had precious nutritional value which could slow aging, making people smarter and more. Supposedly, while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent it on the inside. Since she was still spirited enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, there must be something to that theory. Or maybe it's just, placebo. You turn out the way you want to be simply because that's what you want. Oh, in that case, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. Wait, dinner? Wait, are we having dessert before? Oh wait, this is lunch. That's right, I forgot we're having lunch. I'm not accustomed to having lunch, dessert after lunch, unless it's like a small snack, not like a big old thing, I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you all, so you'd better look forward to it. We sure will. Can't wait to get all puckered up from tonight's shimisaba. That sounds wonderful. I wonder if they'll be serving any good Japanese sake. Oh, we certainly will. Haven't you heard of Rokenjima's famous mackerel shochu? Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. It's pretty funny to watch Goto-san, who looked like his show had totally been stolen, explain in a serious voice that we would be having calf steak for dinner. I've never had calf steak. I've had ribeye. I've had sirloin. I've had, what's the one, strip steak called? Like, something strip? I don't know. I'm not a steak connoisseur. If it tastes good, I'll eat it. Kumasawa-san, thanks for doing that back there. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply. Oh, I haven't done anything that requires thanks. Kumasawa may have played dumb, but she had obviously understood and saved Shannon in the nick of time. Back when Battler had asked about dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them would have required some quick wits. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Shannon had a little of the craftiness needed to cleverly shake off a mistake like Goda, her life would have been a bit easier. The fact that she could perform other tasks flawlessly made this weakness even more unfortunate. However, there were some who understood Shannon's honest nature, her inability to gloss over a mistake and draw attention away from it. That was why Kumasawa had smoothly come to her rescue. I just heard from Genji-san that there will be a change in the afternoon shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. Ho, I'm jealous. Huh? Oh, sorry, I haven't checked the shift chart yet. Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I would be happy if you would help out a bit before your break. Yes. I would be delighted to help. To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants, even if she's kind of old. But it's okay. Mothers come in all shapes and sizes, and ages. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, tea was being served in the parlor. Apparently, they'd prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had bought for Aunt Natsuhi. I just thought about it. How many servants are in Rokenjima? Because, naturally, in our little, chart, we only get to see 5 of them. Just makes me wonder. If you heard that, that was my dogs. If you didn't hear that, it might just sound like I paused for no reason, but my dog started barking. But yeah, there's only 5, important servants, so I wonder just how many Rokenjima has. My dogs are still barking, by the way, but they're further away, so you probably can't hear them. Maria said she also wanted to have some black tea, but my old bastard said she couldn't and told us children to go play outside. Battler-kun, why don't we all go for a walk outside? Go ahead and take a look at the roses or something. But keep a close eye on the weather. The sky's still clear, but the weather report kept on talking about rain. Ooh, I want to go to the beach, Oh, that sounds wonderful. Playing on a sandy beach isn't something you get to do often, is it? Ah, good point. Okay, let's all go to the beach then. Ooh, let's go. Maria, be careful not to get your clothes wet. Or your shoes. Ooh, I won't get wet. That obedience is so cute. Battler-kun, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria-chan, okay? Sure, leave it to me. Hey, you're pretty obedient and cute yourself, listening to Kiri like that. Shut the hell up, Rudolph. Why don't you also listen to me obediently for a change? Hell no. Let's go, everyone, come on. You know, I haven't commented on it before, but I like Battler's little, like, fang he has. It's just... Oh, he's such a little guy. I mean, he has his faults for sure, but he is a real... I do like him as a protagonist. I think he's well suited as the main character. The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who pushed a serving cart in and prepared to serve the tea. The parlor was filled with a sublime aroma which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their thirst. Ha! Rudolph's family certainly seems close. It's a wonderful thing. Don't act like you're any closer with your daughter. Quit it. We're no match for our family, for your family, Aniki. That's true. You've raised Jessica-chan to be so adorable. I imagine that's yet another fruit of your talented education and training, not Tahini-san? Thank you. Natsuki answered coldly. The conversation broke off then, and the parlor fell silent. Maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it himself with an exaggerated gesture. Still, they sure do grow fast. I thought they'd be kids forever, but they start getting huge all of a sudden. Then they're adults like us. Battler-kun looks like a completely different person now. His body has grown much bigger, but he's still just a kid. So you could say the same about my husband. I wonder where the border between child and adult is. Well, it's not exactly at 18 like a lot of places believe. I mean, your brain does finish developing when you're about 23 years old, but just because your brain decides one day that it's done doesn't necessarily mean that you yourself are. I mean, I know your brain is your brain, and when your brain decides something, that's kind of it, but I think it's the mentality you have to have. I still don't feel as though I've grown up. Isn't that pitiful? That's not something the mother of a child should say. Hey, how about you treat your child right first, Kraus? Then you can talk about other people's parenting? That's right. We're not children anymore. We're all adults now. So I wish we could talk together on an intellectual level rather than an emotional one. When Ava smiled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though that pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out the window. Is that a clock? I think that's the ticking of a clock. Since long ago, we've always endeavored to engage in intellectual conversations. It seems your sarcasm occasionally misses its mark, just as it always has. Oh, what is it you've always endeavored to do? My, I wish I could wrap those words up and send them to this room a few decades ago. Right, Rosa? Ava, don't involve me in this conversation. Rosa gave a vague smile. She knew that, whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earned the displeasure of one of her siblings. It was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone growing up as the youngest sibling. Quit it, Aneki. We'd better get started on our main topic while the brats aren't around. Let us make that our intellectual discussion. As Rudolph glanced over to the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh, and some let out a small look of resignation across their face. They were approaching their unavoidable, true agenda. Also, if you've ever heard odd sounds in the, backgrounds of any of my videos, it's most definitely me messing with something on my desk, because I can't just sit here and read. I mean, with visual novels, it quite literally is just sitting and reading and occasionally making choices, unless it's, got something else going on, like Zero Escape and having our room escapes or Danganronpa and the Clash Trials. But when it's just me reading, I have quite the entertainment of office supplies around me, and most often you're probably going to hear me messing with my stapler, because that thing is surprisingly loud. So I just like to comment on that. It's me. Those sounds you may or may not hear are me being stupid and needing to distract my brain while I read for you guys. Let's see what their true agenda is. Last year, his life expectancy was estimated at about 3 months, which I guess means he's got negative 9 months left now. Should we take that to mean it might suddenly happen at any time? The family head is still alive and well. The fact that you'd bring up such an inappropriate topic under light of day makes me doubt your sanity, Rudolph-san. Still, Natsuhe-san, this is the sort of thing you can't put off until after something happens. He's still healthy now, which makes this the perfect time to talk about this, while we've still got time to plan. It's just a bit of financial etiquette, you might say. It seems father is the focus of everyone's concern. Dr. Nanjo, could we hear the details from you? That appears to be what everyone else is waiting for, after all. Cough. Nanjo, who had been standing by the window and staring out at the rose garden, let out a single cough when he realized that he was being called. Dr. Nanjo, how is father's condition? Well, to begin, allow me to start with a revision, since my estimate last year that he had only 3 months left was not borne out. No need to explain. You're saying that measuring remaining life is only a prediction, not a promise, right? That is correct. Because of that, while I will accept everyone's repeated questions, I can by no means confirm when he will pass away. A human's life is supported by their body and their mind. If the body is weak, the situation becomes more dangerous. But if the mind is strong enough to compensate for that weakness, the effects of one condition can sometimes remain in a subdued state. Mind over body. So you're saying that even if his body is weak, his mind is still firm and spirited. Spirited is one word for it. Kiri, sorry, but please stay quiet for a bit. This is for blood relatives. I'm still curious about the whole blood transplant thing I brought up. I don't think it was last episode, but it might have been the episode before. If you got your blood transfusion from someone in the family, does that technically make you blood related if you have some of their blood? Or is blood related more of a figure of speech and who you want to accept in the family? Me personally, I don't think I could argue with the blood transfusion, but maybe if you're like, what is it, if you're Mormon? Mormons are the ones that can't accept blood transfusions, right? I don't know. I'm sorry. That is correct. Kinzo-san's body is being overwhelmed by the demon of ill health. This will hold especially true as long as he continues to partake of such strong alcohol. So he's in a crisis now because he drinks. And maybe he's lived this long because he drinks. There's Dad for you, the heavy drinker. Well then, Doctor, I know you can't give anything more than a prediction. But what do you think about Father's chances of living until this day next year? That's quite a rude question to ask about the family head. Natsuki jumped on Ava, not even bothering to hide her astonished expression. Ava stared back daringly, but Hideyoshi realized what was going on and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile. Natsuki-san, forgive her. Ava, choose your words a bit more carefully, okay? I'm sorry. I was just so concerned about Father's condition. Is that so? I hadn't realized. Dr. Nanjo, please tell us. For the sake of the beautiful love of a daughter worried about her father's lifespan. Kraus, you also want to know. Don't even deny it. Kraus laughed sarcastically, and Ava, smiling sweetly, returned an identical chuckle. You ask whether he will still be healthy next year. But as a doctor, it is very hard to say. Because while I do think this lull in his condition will continue for a while, if he suffers some kind of fit, there may be nothing we can do. After all, Rokenjima is a solitary island. It is not as though an ambulance could quickly jump in to save him. Normally, I would want to have him placed in a large hospital on the mainland, but he'd never go. Father stated that he does not want his noble research interrupted. It seems he holds a grudge over the way we tried to force him out last year. Apparently, he strongly suspects that he'll be shut away in some hospital if he goes outside. And that's how things are now. Has Dr. Nanjo been examining him? Actually, he just did this morning. Father trusts Dr. Nanjo. It seems he can be examined when in one of his better moods. I can examine his condition, but if I try to recommend medicine or hospitalization, he refuses to listen. I've only really been able to look. It's true, some people hate doctors. Still, what a hassle. Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination is to determine what medical treatment would be appropriate. I'm not crazy, but I can't adequately describe the difference, but there's a difference in the narration of the scenes between when Battler is narrating and, when it's kind of like an omniscient narrator. Like, I guess it feels more clinical when it's not Battler, and that's probably because Battler is quite the personality, but it's just, it's curious to see the difference. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given makes the whole thing pointless. So, to sum it up, he's still expected to live 3 months. There's no way to guess how long he'll continue to live while still on the verge of death. Rudolph-san, couldn't you be a little more discreet with your words? Sorry. I've always talked this way. Give me a break. I understand how Dr. Nanjo sees it. What about you, Kraus-Nissan? To be perfectly honest, I have to disagree with Dr. Nanjo. I find it truly difficult to think of Father as a person so sick that he only has 3 months to live. His yell is as healthy as ever, and I still get chills at the thought of his fists raining down on me. Pushing the care of your father solely on the shoulders of the eldest sibling is far from fair. Filial piety and all that. Something. In the next world, get born after me. Okay, let's get back on track. So in the opinion of our impartial and neutral doctor, it wouldn't be odd for him to go any time. No offense to you, Nikki, but I'd rather trust the opinion of an expert in this field. Which means it's definitely not too early to start talking about Dad's assets. Father's personal funds probably reach as high as several 10 billion yen, right? But it's not as though that's all neatly gathered as ready cash. It's not as simple as simply cutting a birthday cake with a knife. That's an interesting way to put it. That's right. Sometimes get strawberries or chocolate on top of the cake, making it hard to cleanly cut into equal parts. Given that, don't you think it's important to discuss beforehand how best to stick the knife in? I cannot understand how you all can openly discuss this as though the family head is dead, even though he's still alive. That's because they hate him, Natsuhi. I know you're trying to get in good graces with the family, but they don't like him. They've never liked him. He was an awful father, is what I'm gathering. That's why they talk about him like that. They don't like him. Come now, don't you see how important this is? After all, when the time comes, the inheritance of this fortune must be carried out immediately, right? Moreover, the glorious Ushirimiya house's wealth is vast. Don't you understand that careful discussion is necessary beforehand? There's a huge difference between this family's resources and your family's wealth. How rude. My birth family has nothing to do with this. Natsuhi responded indignantly, though in a low voice, and the already dark atmosphere grew even more hostile. Give it a rest, Ava. Natsuhi-san, forgive us. Pardon her rudeness. Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing at both with a forced smile, but it only resulted in making the hostility between Ava and Natsuhi even more intense. It seems I'll just get in the way if I stay any longer. Please excuse me. Nanjo rose from his seat and exited the parlor. To an outsider, it may have seemed like a normal act of courtesy, but his back was watched by several glances envious of his ability to escape. After the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Kraus recrossed his legs. In other words, this is what you all would like to say. Father's remaining life is short. You want to quickly enter into a practical conference concerning the distribution of his inheritance, or of the inheritance. Why are you so eager, I wonder? Certainly, as you say, estimating and distributing the Ushirimiya family's wealth is no simple task. In that case, shouldn't we make careful and deliberate calculations? I'm telling you, I hate this guy. I hate Kraus. What if I beat Kraus up, honestly? Like... It seems to me that you are all impatient to split up the cake tonight. Isn't that true, Rosa? What reason is there to be hasty? We aren't being hasty. However, we need to have an agreement between the siblings. It doesn't matter when we do that, but if the day Father's condition worsens is approaching, discussing the matter beforehand hardly seems hasty to me. Rosa shot a glance at Ava and Rudolph. As the youngest sibling in the family, it was hard for her to be cross-examined by the eldest. Oh? Is that your true opinion? I didn't expect that the most honest and pure-hearted of the siblings would say something like that. I wonder if those two told you to say it. Quit it, Aniki. Rosa's one of Dad's kids, too. She's got as much right to his inheritance as the rest of us. It's only natural that she'd be interested. After all, Dad'll definitely die, and that's not something that'll happen in the distant future. On the contrary, Aniki, you're way too relaxed. It almost seems like you'd like nothing better than to turn the discussion away from the inheritance issue. Might there be a reason? What do you mean by that? Are you trying to accuse my husband of something? Hey, so this isn't time for you to talk, baby girl. Calm down, Natsuhi-san. Listen to what we have to say. Nissan, I hear the times have been extremely good lately. Yes, since last year we've been in an unprecedented boom. and the yen keeps on rising. It seems that it's no longer a dream that the dollar will reach 100 yen. Also, the ruling party says that it'll establish health resort maintenance law by next year. At this moment, resort development companies across Japan are running about, trying to gather as much funding as they can. You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Japan is about to experience an unprecedented boom. It'll be a repeat of the Korean War demands, the time during which Father revived the Ushirimiya family. The people of Japan have been working like mad, achieving vast economic growth and becoming the most well-off people in the world, reaching the height of our prosperity. We've reached an era where private spending is vast, which means easy money for institutions that can capitalize on that fact. The three kinds of electrical appliances no longer represent the people's needs. The people need ski resorts, golf courses, public pools, resort hotels, and theme parks. Have you gone to Disneyland? Disneyland? Is that supposed to be Disneyland? Oh my, moon tourism makes so much more sense now. I get it. I finally understand moon tourism. Oh my god. What an excellent theme park. It's a place where even an adult can be a kid and have fun with his family. No longer do we count our sole virtue to be selfless devotion while failing to care for our families. We have become the most prosperous people in the world, and now we can finally enjoy the benefits. Kraus-san, your foresight's nothing to sneeze at. When I heard that sort of thing several years ago, I thought it was crazy. But when I heard about the G5 Nations Plaza Accord, that all changed. The yen shot up, and I'll bet the price of land skyrockets soon, too. It won't be long before Japan becomes the economic center of the world. You've got a great sense of the direction the world's moving, Kraus-san. At least there can be no debate about that. I feel the same as Hideyoshi-san. Aniki, you can read into the next decade of history. I'll bet you got that keen sense from Dad, and it's incredible. However, unlike Dad, the timing of your prediction has been a bit off sometimes. Right? Nissan, you've been starting resort projects everywhere, convinced that Japan will soon see a boom. But almost all of them continue to fail. While I'm sure that the era you predicted will soon arrive, it seems you misread the timing of that boom. You were too early. You then panicked and tried to... Oh, is this still her? You were too early. You then panicked and tried to sell everything off, which only opened the wound even further. If your nose was really so reliable, then there should be no reason for you to sell off your property. Is this proof that you mistrust your own ability? How rude. Are you trying to insult my husband? Natsu's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Eva, paying this no heed, stared at Kraus with a confident smile. Kraus, who also maintained this confident appearance, told Natsuhi to sit down. Please stop, Natsuhi. Ava's always been incapable of talking any other way. Calm down a little or your headache will get worse. There's proof of your lack of talent next to us. After all, Nissan, weren't you all excited about turning this island into a resort? You built a wonderful resort hotel and beautifully maintained the garden. I'm just an amateur and don't pretend to understand, but you must have used a significant amount of money for that, right? Beatrice won't like what you're trying to do, Kraus. Beatrice will hate what you're trying to do, Kraus. And what is that to you? My husband's business is none of yours. Actually, that's not true, Natsuhi-san. Rokenjima doesn't belong to Aniki. It belongs to Dad. Of course, the hotel does belong to Aniki, right? In fact, we'd be more than willing to pay lodging fees for tonight. What do you think, Rosa? Well, if what I have on hand will suffice. If I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise. It is true that expenses have piled up, but we can expect a large harvest in the future. When that happens, all of you stand to profit as well, do you not? I understand that. If the value of this island rises, that'll increase our portions when we distribute the inheritance. Of course, I won't ask you to divide the island and the mansion into 4 equal parts. We can just resolve the matter with money equal to the value of the property. If you understand that much, what about my business makes you so dissatisfied? We aren't dissatisfied. We're uneasy. In the first place, Aniki, when do you plan to open that hotel? Left this way, you won't get anything out of it except your grubby handprints, right? That's right. It's an important tool for your business, isn't it? Surely you can't keep it locked up until the moment you open it. Buildings go bad if you don't use them and air them out every once in a while. Even so, it's a bit extravagant for a guest house that we only use once a year. Right, Rosa? Okay, you keep dragging Rosa into this. It's it's like she needs Rosa to validate her argument. That's right. Considering how wonderful it is, I'm sure it will become quite popular once you open it. Oh, so the hotel you keep talking about is the guest house. Kiri, I love you, but yes, I feel like that was obvious. It's splendid. Just as Rosa said, if you were to open it, I'm sure it would become popular. The lodging they had been guided to wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. How big is it? However, even though it was built 2 years previously, there was still absolutely no prospect of it opening. Nissan, it's just like all of your enterprises. Your attention and planning are both fabulous. Then it always becomes unmaintainable partway through, and then it ends before you have a chance to earn any profit. You were brilliant when you saw that using this island only as a place to live was a waste. I think it was a pretty good plan to turn it into a resort that could use the prospect of marine sports, fishing, honeymoons, and the like to attract customers. If I were the oldest son, I'm sure I'd have strained my brain looking for a way to make a profit off this island. But 2 full years have passed since you finished building, right? After 2 years, you still haven't had the opportunity to open it. Where's the managing company you entrusted it to? Impertinence. That is not my husband's fault. There's just been some trouble with the company that my husband contracted with. No matter how you look at it, we are victims here. And yet, the rumors we've heard about this company you hired haven't been good at all. Let's be clear about this, dear. Did you really think we wouldn't hear about how lack of payment, embezzlement, and other issues led to the project disintegrating mid-flight? We even have evidence. I don't know what kind of evidence you think you found, but it's all baseless. As new members in the tourism industry, it is necessary for us to lay the groundwork with various people. It is also important to investigate the trustworthiness of our partners. It's merely taken us some time to meet that goal. I'll admit that in my rashness, the hotel was completed too early. However, it's not as though we're paying maintenance costs. It's a foundation that will eventually become immensely significant. Liar. I'll bet you want to liquidate it, but can't. After all, there's no reason for anyone to buy such an extravagant hotel on an isolated, empty island without any established sightseeing routes. And anyway, what about all the loans you made for this project? Even if you aren't incurring maintenance costs, the borrowed money that you can't return just keeps growing. Sorry, Krasny-san. But I've investigated the development plan for this island a bit. To be honest, I haven't heard anything good either. Hideyoshi-san, I can see how you might be left with that impression by looking only at the current financial situation. However, this is a forward-looking... Okay, just because you got your hopes up for the future does not make it true. I have no choice but to admit that my prediction was mistaken, and that up until now, several liabilities have been created. However, the times have finally caught up with me. I will soon regain everything that I have lost up to this point. No, actually, all of the investments I have made until now will finally return to my possession. That's right. Just like throwing away a small fry to catch a salmon. Salmon? Salmon? The fuck was I trying to say? Salmon? They will come back even bigger than before. I'll accept that. The resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom before too long. Though I don't know if it'll be enough to cover all your debt. However, Krasny-san, after all your failures in the past, who exactly do you expect to provide you with funding? And this isn't some small amount we're talking about. You'll need enough funding to fill the massive hole you've dug. What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi-san? Ha, Natsu-san, please don't get angry. We looked into this too. We checked to see who might have provided Krasny-san with enough financing to support his recent large-scale projects, despite his string of failures. And we discovered that no such backer exists. The iron rule of the money roulette is that you bet against the loser. Haniki, you're a fairly well-known loser in this field. It's true that prosperous times are about to come. When we looked for people who considered that enough to overlook your string of failures, and also had enough for the investment, we found no candidates. So, the big question now is where you got that money from. Huh. Now isn't this intriguing? Yet, did they all, do separate research and then come together and be like, okay guys, so when we confront Kraus, Ava, you start it. Rudolph, you go next. Rosa, agree with whenever we say agree with us, okay? And, dear, how long do you plan to let these ridiculous remarks stand? Sit down, Nazi-san. Let's cut to the point. Naniki, you've been diverting Dad's private funds for your own businesses. There's pretty much no room for doubt. If you think we made some kind of mistake, please, feel free to explain. Rudolph, don't call it diverting funds. He's stealing, plain and simple. This is embezzlement, plain and simple. Okay, so I had right idea, wrong words. A huge crime that can be criminally prosecuted. This sort of rudeness cannot be tolerated. How can you face the successor to the Ushiramiya head family and level these absurd accusations? They aren't absurd, they're right on the mark. I'm sure he'd like to somehow make his business succeed and recover his losses, but his debt keeps getting bigger. He's just trying to cover up the failure of one gamble by making an even bigger one. It's only natural that he'd try to grab any sorts of funding close at hand. Let me be frank, Nissan. What you're doing is embezzlement. You're betraying Father. You know that we'll have the court settle this after it's all over, right? Do you think that kind of person has any right to call themselves the successor to the Ushiramiya head family? Volva, you dare to claim that he has betrayed the family head? You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of the glorious Ushiramiya family. Why are you riding on the Ushiramiya family meat so hard, Natsuki? You know they're never gonna accept you, as much as I hate to say it, because girl, I'm on your side. But they're not gonna accept you no matter what you do. They're never gonna respect you, baby. Leave this place at once! Now! Get out! Natsuhi, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Ava in a rage. Then she pointed alternatively at Ava in the hallway, demanding that she leave. Ava took out a folding fan and fanned herself with it, glaring maliciously at Natsuhi as though silently daring her to repeat what she'd said. However, her mouth was still smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped. Hey, Natsuhi-san. To whom do you think you are speaking in such a tone? I'm speaking to the exceedingly rude sister of my husband. As the person in charge of the main family's kitchen, I cannot overlook any more of this. Natsuhi, baby, you basically just told on yourself. That's the most importance you have here. The most importance you have is you're the head of the kitchen. You have no other word in this. I'm sorry. In charge of the kitchen? Be silent, lowly maidservant. Ava folded the fan with a snap and rose to her feet energetically. Compared to the elegance and playfulness she'd shown until a second ago, she was now unimaginably aggressive. How foolish, you stand down! Before Ava of the Ushiromiya family. You tell me to stand down? Me? Ushiromiya Ava? The third ranked in the Ushiromiya family hierarchy and the one allowed to sit at the left shoulder of the head. Know your place. And then look at your shabby self in a mirror. Where is the symbol of the wing on your clothes? Where are you permitted to wear the one-winged eagle? Aren't you nothing more than a borrowed womb to the house the next successor to the Ushiromiya family? Understand your place, you common housemaid! Ava's face twisted hideously as her words gouged into Natsuhi's heart like talons, wrenching at it. There were 100 ways Natsuhi wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and none of those words managed to make it to her mouth. Her anger had nowhere to go, and became a single hot tear that slowly dripped down. What's wrong? If you have something to say, please do so. Come on. Ava faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsuhi could do nothing but tremble, her clenched fists quivering. Kraus quietly broke that powder keg tension. Natsuhi, leave your seat. You should go cool your head. Natsuhi, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack. Here, don't you understand what they're saying about you? These people are baselessly calling you a traitor to father. They are making light of the fact that we protect the glory of the Ushiromiya family, even though we are constantly expending every effort to earn that glory from father. They trample all of that underfoot with their hateful rambling, and you don't even try to fight back. Why? I'm only standing up for us because you won't. But you've been putting the entire burden on me for some time now. And now you tell me to go cool my head? It's always me. Even though I have always considered this family's affairs so seriously, you've... Natsuhi was already unable to hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After that, all that remained was a somewhat embarrassed mood about the parlor. When the sound of footsteps grew distant and silence returned, Kraus shrugged his shoulders slightly. I apologize for my wife. She has always been bad at controlling her emotions. It's even been rough for me. If that's what's been managing your household, you must suffer to no end, Nissan. Ugh. Ugh. Madam, it's nothing. Leave me be. Natsu flew into her room and threw herself onto her bed, lamenting. Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway. Poor Madame Natsuhi. There is a deep enmity between her and Eva-sama. Explaining their relationship would be very trying for me as a woman. The Ushirmiya family holds blood in high regard, but if a woman marries and leaves the family, they are normally removed from their family register. Thus, under normal circumstances, Eva-sama should have been removed when she married Hideyoshi-sama. However, there is no one deserving of blame in this matter. The madam certainly bears no guilt. They're nothing to call it other than a whim of God. Kraus-sama and Natsuhi-sama were not blessed with children for some time. After all, this is the male-dominant Ushirmiya family. A wife is merely a tool to create an heir. If such a wife cannot fulfill her only duty, she will not even be treated as a human. It pains me to remember how the master tortured Madam during that time. Back then, a wedding between Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama was being discussed. Eva-sama was sly. Taking advantage of Madam's inability to become pregnant, she gained the favor of the master. She inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor herself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Ushirmiya register. There was a vast difference in the Ushirmiya hierarchy between Madam, who married into the Ushirmiya family and was treated like an outsider, and Eva-sama, who was related to the family by blood and whose husband took on the Ushirmiya name. Furthermore, Eva-sama actually gave birth first, and to a boy. As for how much weaker Madam's position was as Eva-sama's, well, I believe you could see for yourself. I'm sure Madam is tormented by the thought that if only she had gotten pregnant earlier, the master wouldn't have accepted Eva-sama's request to keep her last name after marriage, and Eva-sama wouldn't have been permitted to act as arrogantly as she did today. However, that was not Madam's fault. All of the blame lies with God's whims and the stork that delivered Jessica late. Even so, Madam won't allow herself to see things this way. She probably can't help but cry bitter tears as a woman at her inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife. Ah, how sad. I cannot do anything except watch over her from the shadows. And time passes backwards. I believe this means we're going to the children, but I'd also like to say that this is where I'll be ending today's episode. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, even in such a... You know, I think I'd call this episode kind of bleak. I mean, there was just a bunch of adults arguing, and some unfortunate reality of gender roles, and especially how it works in rich people's houses. And I want to say Japan, but again, I'm not very knowledgeable on Japanese customs, especially that of the 80s, so I'm not going to go as far to say that. But as much fault as I've seen Natsuhi have, there's no reason for her to be treated in the manner that she is. And Ava also certainly has her faults, too. But clearly we can tell that all the adults in the Ushirmiya family are extremely flawed. The ones that I see the least issue with, the one that I see the least issues with is probably Kiri. But that's probably because she's not, like, blood related to this family, so she actually has, sense and grew up in a loving family home. But anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next Sunday for the next episode of Umineko. And bye.